It began like any ordinary Monday. Shannan's SUV sat quietly in the garage. Her shoes were neatly by the door, her purse, phone, keys, all inside. But Shannon Watts, her 2 little girls, and her unborn son were gone. Shannon Watts was a 34-year-old mother of 2, vibrant and full of life. A former nurse turned health and wellness advocate, she radiated positivity on social media. Her husband, Chris Watts, was a quiet, reserved man who worked in the oil industry. They lived in a quiet suburb of Frederick, Colorado. To the world, they looked like a picture-perfect family. Smiling photos, sweet anniversary posts, videos of their daughters Bella and Celeste dancing in the living room. Shannan even announced her pregnancy with their 3rd child in a heartfelt video to Chris. "I guess when you want it, it happens. We're having another one." But on August 13th, 2018, everything changed. Shannan had just returned home from a work trip in Arizona. Her friend Nicole Atkinson dropped her off at around 1:48 a.m. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. Later that morning, Nicole grew worried when Shannan missed her OB/GYN appointment and wasn't answering calls or texts. Nicole drove to the Watts home. She rang the doorbell, knocked. Nothing. Through the front window, she could see Shannan's purse. Her car was in the garage, her shoes still at the door. Nicole called 911. Chris Watts arrived shortly after. He was calm. He said Shannan had told him she was taking the kids to a friend's house that morning. But that made no sense. Her car seats, and essentials were all there. Police searched the home. Shannan's phone was still charging by the bed. Her wedding ring was left on the nightstand. Nothing was missing, except the people. Chris agreed to interviews. He appeared on local TV pleading for their return. "If you're out there, just come back. If somebody has her, bring her back. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without them." But something felt off. His voice was flat, his demeanor too composed. Investigators quietly began reviewing surveillance footage from a neighbor's security camera. It showed Chris backing his truck into the garage in the early hours of the morning. He claimed he was loading tools for work, but officers found that suspicious. It wasn't his normal routine. Still, they needed more. Detectives brought Chris in for questioning. He agreed to a polygraph. "Do you know where Shannon Watts is?" "No." Result? Deception indicated. The polygrapher later said, "There's no way you're telling the truth." Chris began to crack. Alone in the room with his father, Ronnie, he whispered a version of the story. He claimed Shannan had killed the girls in a rage, and he had just reacted. But the autopsies would prove otherwise. 2 days later, Chris confessed. He had strangled Shannan in their bed. Then, he wrapped her body in a sheet while his daughters watched. He loaded her into the truck, placed Bella and Celeste in the back seat, alive, and drove them to his work site. He buried Shannan in a shallow grave. Then, in a horrific act of calculated evil, he smothered Celeste with her blanket while Bella watched. "Daddy, no," she pleaded. Then, "Bella." Her last words were reportedly, "Is the same thing going to happen to me as Cece?" Chris stuffed their small bodies into crude oil tanks, 8 inches wide, at the Anadarko oil field where he worked. For days, the world watched in horror. How could a father do this? Eventually, the bodies were recovered. Chris was arrested and charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, 1 for each child, Shannan, and Shannan's unborn son, Nico. He also faced charges for unlawful termination of a pregnancy and tampering with a body. He pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. During the sentencing, Shannan's family gave heart-wrenching statements. Her father, through tears, said, "I trusted you to take care of them, not kill them." The judge called the murders the most inhumane and vicious crime he had ever seen. Chris Watts is now serving 5 life sentences in a maximum security prison. No possibility of parole,